Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. You're down. Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. In the event you happen to like this story, then definitely be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel. And also hit the notification bell. That way, anytime I drop a story, you will be notified ASAP Rocky, and you can hop on it whenever you're ready. Also, check out my website, 16 to life. I got some merch on there. Yard Down hoodies, t-shirts, some Fox t-shirts, and you can check my music out on there as well. You can buy my music. Or you can also go to my playlist under Gas Station and check my rhymes out there, man. I'm telling y'all, I get seriously busy on the mic. It's not that Curtis Blow flow. Don't never get it twisted. So be sure to go to my playlist under Gas Station and you can check me out. Now, a lot of times in my comments, people will leave questions asking about some of the more notorious or infamous individuals who I've done time with. I've done time with Big U was 2 doors down from me. I've done some time with Trey D, a little bit of time with the rapper J.O. Felony, a lot of individuals who was in that Monster Cody book, you know, dudes whose names was ringing in the gang world, Crips and Bloods. But some of the more notorious individuals, I think the most recognizable individual who I done time with was an individual by the name of Bruce Davis. And he was a member of the Charles Manson gang. He had got convicted of 2 murders. He wasn't convicted of the murders that Charles Manson was famously known for, the Sharon Tate murders. I believe she was a heiress to the Folgers coffee. He wasn't in for those murders. He was convicted of 2 other murders, which he talks about, and he gives several interviews on YouTube. So if you want to go check that out, you can go check that out. So I ended up running across him, I believe, probably in 2005, 2006, when I ended up getting to CMC East. So, you know, at some point in time, you know, I happened to notice him. Of course, somebody pointed him out. Now, he's at that time, man, he's probably, I don't know, probably in his mid to late 60s, possibly, you know, because he's been incarcerated over 50 years. So by that time, like I say, he was a very older gentleman. By then, he had gave his life to the Lord and stuff. And also he's very small in stature, you know. So he's probably about, I would say, 5'6" at the most. You know, he's a small dude, probably about 140 pounds. Real nice dude, though, you know. Actually, later on, I ended up playing some racquetball with him a couple of times. When I would play racquetball, I'd get a real excruciating pain right here in my elbow. But I had a partner of mine, Maurice Tanzi, also known as T-Roll from Colton City. He rests in peace now. He played racquetball with the dude all the time, man. The dude was a real cool dude. Like I say, he was a small dude. By then, he had gave his life to the Lord, you know. So he was non-assuming, you know, and I would have had no problem, and I would have no problem with him living next door to me today. You know, he didn't, you know, unless somebody pointed him out, you would have never known that, you know, he was part of the Charles Manson gang. And later on, you know, around 2015, when they created a class called LTOP, which stands for the Long-Term Offenders Pilot Program, it was basically a class that they created to it was a self-help group, a bunch of different self-help classes, because they were going to start letting lifers out. And so they had created that class to give lifers some tools in order to get reacclimated back to society. So it was during those classes where I would really talk to him, and we'd have a few discussions, and a lot of the times the discussions was just, you know, hi and bye, and you know, how you doing, and this and that. Once in a while, we had a couple of little talks, and I remember one time, you know, he had went to the board, and he got found suitable, because of course he had life, and I believe he got life somewhere around 71, 72, when they had just abolished the death penalty in California. So I believe he was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole. Now, in California, when you just get a flat out life sentence with no number attached to it, normally how it goes is, after 7 years, you can request or or they'll take you to the board. So, now keep in mind, this individual has been in prison for 50 years. Now, so around that time when we had this discussion, it was maybe 2015, 16, somewhere up in there, I'm not quite sure, but he had just went to the board and they had found him suitable. Now, how that works in California is, like I mentioned before in some of my other videos, you'll go to the board. Your board hearing could last anywhere from 3 to 5 hours. It all depends on who the commissioners are. After the hearing, you might wait anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, and you'll get the decision right then and there. So he had been found suitable. Now, so after you're found suitable, you have up to 5 months where it has to go through a process, and then eventually the governor, he overlooks it. And now the governor, if you're convicted of murder, the governor can the governor can say that he does not agree with the findings of the parole board, and he can snatch your finding of suitability. So in other words, even though they found you suitable to go home, the governor can say, well, no, I disagree with it because of this. The governor will read over the transcripts and then make his finding. And so at that point in time, Bruce Davis had been found suitable. And so, he basically told me that he already knew the governor was going to reverse the decision. And I guess due to the political fanfare around his case, he wasn't very optimistic at all, because this had happened to him several times. And now I believe he's been found suitable 6 or 7 times, and each time the governor will reverse the decision of the parole board. And so I believe he has had 3 different governors reverse his decision. And so now let's keep in mind too, like I say, he's been incarcerated over 50 years. The dude has had 2 infractions. Neither one of them serious, just very, very minor infractions. The last time he got in trouble was in 1980. And he has a whole bunch of different vocation, certificates. And he also has a doctorate and also a master's in religion, And so now due to speaking to the fairness of the situation, I've seen individuals come to jail for a murder, catch another murder while they're in prison or in jail, and be found suitable and released, and have numerous write-ups, numerous fights, numerous stabbings, things of that nature, and still be found suitable. Like, take me for instance. Like I say, I had an attempted murder where 3 individuals were shot. And then I also had a separate murder a year later in 1994. I was granted my parole. I had about 16, 17 write-ups, some of them participation in a riot, a few fights, stuff like that, possession of a cell phone. I still was found suitable. So, for the sake of being fairness, he's definitely being denied due to the fanfare around his case, because for any governor to let a person who was convicted with the Charles Manson family, it would, of course, you're going to get a lot of public outcry, a lot of individuals saying that this governor should be removed. And at the time, the last time I believe Bruce Davis was found suitable, they was trying to recall the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. So of course he wasn't going to release that guy under those conditions. Something else just popped up in my head while I was thinking, kind of related to this case. During those times where I was involved in these self-help groups to gain my freedom, I also ran across another individual. I'm trying to remember the name of the group real quick, but it doesn't really matter. Alternative to Violence. Alternative to Violence was the group. There happened to be another individual. Ironically, he was the nephew of Sharon Tate, who was murdered by the Charles Manson gang. And he happened to be in that class too, Alternative to Violence. He happened to be in there also for a murder himself. So I thought that was just a little ironic as well, these 2 lives kind of connected. I think that dude happened to be on D yard though, and me and Bruce Davis, we were on A yard. So like I say, man, I'd see the dude out there sometimes. I'd speak to him on the yard or whatever. We might just bump heads at the run across each other at the canteen. That's like the snack bar. Hey, how you doing, Bruce? Hey, man, how you doing? And like I say, the dude was always upbeat. He was always positive. He had gave his life to the Lord. He was basically a prison minister. He talked to dudes in there, try to inspire them, try to give them hope and stuff. And so for these reasons surrounding his case, it's just more than likely they're not going to let him out. And so like he was telling me during that one discussion that we had in L-Top, he was just telling me, that I pretty much know that more than likely I'll die in prison, because at that time he had probably been in prison 46, 47 years, somewhere around there. I don't know. But he saw the writing on the wall. Each time he had been found suitable 5 or 6 times, 4 or 5 times at that point. And like I say, each time he'd be found suitable, almost at the end of his 5-month period, which is like 150 days, I believe, they would call him to the counselor's office and let him know that the governor has chose to reverse the findings of the parole board for whatever reason, for lack of insight or whatever. He's gone to the parole board and told him that I was responsible as anybody there for that, in that crime. But for, like I say, for the political reasons, they're just refusing to let the guy go. Last I checked and seen, I believe now he's up there at San Quentin, and he's doing pretty much the same, staying out of trouble, taking vocational classes and stuff like that. So I just think that for the sake of fairness, sometimes it's, because you have a lot of individuals out there who will say that any individual who goes to prison for murder shouldn't be released. And I'm not going to argue with them people. I believe that people can change and this and that. This dude, this is 50 years, it's since he committed his crimes. But all I'm saying that if the law says that an individual after serving a certain amount of time should be released, then if it applies to one person, it should apply to everybody equally. Don't pick and choose because of the hoopla surrounding an individual's case. And so, like I say, I've seen dudes come to prison, get in big trouble, fights, riots, murders, continuous fights, stabbing people, and they're released. And so if the law applies to them, it should apply to everybody. Now, there's a question that's been coming up, for years and years and years concerning prison. And the question is this here: is prison about rehabilitation or is prison about punishment? Because if prison is about punishment, once, let's say a dude is sentenced to 25 years to life, after he served that 25 years or after he served 30 years, isn't his punishment up? Hasn't he been punished? Because he served his sentence. If prison is about rehabilitation, then once a person has stayed out of trouble for an extended amount of time, a person has took these self-help groups, he can explain who he is, he can explain, the factors surrounding his case, he can explain the character flaws that he failed to recognize at the time he committed the crime, and now he has alternatives to deal with those issues, because we all have anger issues, we all have certain issues, just the difference is how we deal with them, so now instead of maybe reacting violently, people can walk away. You can make a phone call. You can exercise. You can read a book. You can meditate. You can ask for forgiveness. You can forgive the person who committed whatever act of harm you felt was committed upon you. I mean, it's a whole lot of things that we can do to to avoid turning to violence or whatever. Like I say, and we learn these things in Alternative to Violence, anger management, all these different classes that they teach us in prison. So after a period of time, after an individual has become rehabilitated, shouldn't he be released? Because, I mean, you got to either have prison for rehabilitation or you got to have prison for punishment. So which one is it? But either or, after a dude has, served his time or been rehabilitated, then I believe that he should be released. For those people who say that a person who has committed a heinous crime should never be released, then to me, your issue really is with the law. It's not with that individual, because if the person is sentenced to a certain amount of time, after he served that time, his freedom should be given to him. You know, like you say, if you sentence the individual to life without parole, then okay, he got life without parole. But if you sentence the dude to 10 years, then he do his 10 years and he should come home. So, you know, I'm not necessarily advocating for Bruce Davis per se. I'm just saying that, you know, it would seem fair that the same laws that's applied to everybody else be applied to him, you know. And so, yeah, my buddy T-Roll, they used to play racquetball quite often. You know, they'd be over there playing racquetball and stuff. And keep in mind, at that time, like I say, Bruce Davis was probably about in his mid 60s, maybe even 70s. I don't quite know, you know, but he was an older dude, but he was still running around. He was active, you know, he was upbeat. You know, the dude was always talkative. He was a cool dude, man. It didn't look like he was running around acting. He was just, you know, putting on certain airs to try to convince people that he was no longer a threat, because the people who are eventually in control of a lifer's freedom, they're not on the yard. So it's not like a lifer, myself included, we have to walk around trying to impress the guards and stuff like that. The people that, you know, that are responsible for a lifer's freedom is basically, it's the commissioner, it's the parole board, and in this day and age, it's us now more than ever. Like I say now, if for the average lifer, if you stay out of trouble 5 years, 6 years, you know, you can go in there and explain, you know, the circumstances around your case. You go in there, you be honest, you accept responsibility and accountability for the crime. The lifers are getting free now. When I initially came to prison, if you were sentenced to life, even if you had life with parole, you weren't coming home. But now, the control and the freedom is more in a lifer's hands now more than ever. You know, if you stay out of trouble, you know, you keep your nose clean and stuff. Now there are definitely the parole board is definitely granting lifers their freedom. But like I said, unfortunately for Bruce Davis, due to, you know, the hoopla, I guess I would say, and just the public outcry of any governor would receive who released him, more than likely he's not gonna get out of prison. At this point in time, the dude is about 80 years old, 82 years old, somewhere around there, you know. So what harm is he really likely to do? Like I say, the dude has been in prison since 1980 and hasn't gotten into any trouble, which is extremely hard. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say right there, man. He's one of the more notorious individuals who I've done time with. I'm gonna start dropping some segments from time to time about some individuals who were infamous that I've done time with, man. You already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to life. Resume normal program.